Gupta.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, do it and press the notification bell too so that you don't miss any of my videos. So without any delay, let's get started. And today, this is the Async Part 2, and today we are going to do two chapters. One is promises and the second is Async Await. Okay, so I'm very excited for this video. Are you? Let's get started. Let's get started. Tab. Okay. So JavaScript promises. I promise a result. So I promise a result. Producing code is code that can take some time. So like if you don't know, there are two types of code in a promise. One is a producing code and one is a consuming code. Producing code is the code that can take some time. So producing code is the code that can take some time to like finish. Consuming code is the code that must wait for the result. The consuming code waits for the result. Okay, so like basically the consuming code waits for the producing code to finish and then it starts working. A promise is a JavaScript object. So a promise is a JavaScript object that links producing code. So it links producing code and consuming code. So a promise is a JavaScript object that links producing code and consuming code. JavaScript promise object. So now the JavaScript promise object. A JavaScript promise object contains both the producing code and the consuming code. So the promise object contains both the producing code and the consuming code. So over here we are making a let my promise. We are doing let my promise equals to new promise. So we are creating a new promise object and this is the callback function. So this whole function is a callback function. In that we have two things, my resolve and my reject. So this first parameter is the first the first parameter is the first function defined in my promise.then, and my reject this second parameter is the second parameter, you can say second parameter of my promise.then. So the first parameter of this promise callback is the like, so like my resolve is like the this code if successful method, and my reject is code if some error method. Okay, in that we are calling two methods, my resolve and my reject. So this is so it will call my resolve when the code is successful, and we will call my reject when the code is not successful. And when my resolve would be called, then this method would be called, and when my reject would be called, then this method would be called. Okay, so like I told you that this first parameter is the first function over here, and the second parameter is the second function in the my promise.then. So when the executing code, so like this is the producing code over here. So here it is the producing code. So this may take some time. Okay, it's not always sure that it will take some time, but sometimes it may take some time. And here it is the consuming code. It would wait or for a fulfilled promise. So when this promise would be fulfilled, it will wait for it and then execute according to the result. So when the executing code obtains the result, so when the executing code gets the result, it should call one of the two callbacks, my resolve and my reject. So these both are callbacks. One is my resolve and the second is my reject. Result if successful, my resolve would be called, and when error, my reject error object would be called. Okay, so like when an example will come, I will do some fiddling up with this. Okay, Promise object properties. So now we are on the promise object properties. A JavaScript object can be pending, so it can be pending. It can be fulfilled, so a promise is fulfilled, or it can be rejected. Okay, the promise object supports two properties. So it has two properties, state and result. While a promise object is pending, so like when it is working, the result is undefined. So the result that will come is undefined. When the promise object is fulfilled, so when it is fulfilled, the result is a value. So the result is the value that is obtained. And when a promise object is rejected, so when it is rejected, the result is an error object. So the result will be an error object. So like here is a table to show it more clearly. My promise dot state, when the state is pending, there is my promise dot result would be undefined. When it is fulfilled, then a result value. So the value that is being obtained, the value that has come from the promise object will be over here. And when the promise state is fulfilled, the result value will come. The result value is the value that we get from the promise. And when it is rejected, an error object. So like when the state is rejected, an error object will come in my promise dot result. You cannot access the promise property state and result. So unfortunately, you cannot access these both state and result properties. You must use a promise method to handle promises. So you need to use a promise method to handle promises. Promise how to. So how to use a promise. Here is how to use a promise. So like here you have defined a promise and now you want to use it. So here is how to use a promise. My promise dot then. So here you will give your promise name and then dot then you will pass it to methods. One is function value. This would be executed when code is successful, and uh, in that we will get code that when it is successful which code should be run. And then we have function error, in that there is code if some error occurs. Promise dot then takes two arguments. So it takes two arguments, a callback for success, so this is a callback for success, and another for failure, so and another for failure. Both are optional. So you like, if you don't want a callback for success, you can remove it. If you don't want a callback for error, you can remove that also. So like both are optional. So you can add a callback for success or failure only. So you can add a callback for success only or for failure only. Okay. So like here there's an example. Here we have function myDisplayer, and in that you are printing whatever it gets. Okay. Then you are making a new promise. So then you are making a new promise over here, and in that you're giving my resolve and my reject. Okay. Let x equals to 0. So okay. So the producing code, this may take some time. So here you are defining the variable x. Okay, so this is like the whole callback function. Okay, this is the whole callback function, and in that you are doing that, like you are defining a variable x, that is its value is 0. So if x equals to 0, so if its value is 0, we will call my resolve okay. Okay, so like the code would be, then it means that the code is successful and we are calling my resolve okay. Okay, so it will run in my promise dot then. When it will do all this, then it will come to my promise dot then and it will run this method because we are calling my resolve over here. Okay. And it will display the value, so it would display okay, else my reject error. Okay, so we are passing it, so when if x is not 0, then my reject would be called, and the we are passing it error, so it will display error also. So both the functions are doing the same thing. So like for example, I did x value 1 over here, then it is showing error because x is not 0 and my reject has been called. Okay, and like over here, if I give like my reject over here and my resolve over here, okay, it will do the same, like and if I call my reject over here and my resolve over here, okay, and like if I do x0, it is showing okay. So like what is happening, so the name of the method could be anything. It is not like it is not compulsory to keep it my reject or my resolve. Like over here the first one is my reject, so this method is this method, so this method is equals to this method. So whenever you call my reject, this method would be executed, and whenever you call my resolve, this method would be executed. Okay, so like where over here we are doing, if x equals to 0, then my reject would be called. Okay, so like I'm doing one thing, I'm doing command z command z command z. Okay, so like my resolve would be called, my resolve is the error method, so this my resolve is the error method. Okay, so this is the error method, that's why in reality this is being called. So like if I do some changes to this, if I do alert, okay, in the error method if I do alert, then like it is calling the reject method over here when x is not 0. Okay, so that's why it is displaying it. But like if we do x0, then my resolve would be called, my resolve is this one, and alert would, it would, the value would be alerted. Okay is coming. Okay, so like okay is coming, because like try to understand, here we have changed the order, the order is my reject and my resolve. Okay, so like my reject is the success function and my resolve is the error function, though like the names are not suiting for them. So like my reject should have been the error method and my resolve should have been the success method, but this shows that the first parameter over here would be the first function in my promise.then, and the second parameter over here will be the second function in my promise.then. Okay, so basically through this example I wanted to show you this. Okay, so like let's see some more promise examples, so like when the producing code takes some more time, so that it becomes quite exciting for us to use promises. Like JavaScript promise examples to demonstrate the use of promises. So to demonstrate the use of promises, we will use the callback example from the previous chapter. So in the previous chapter we used the callback examples, so we will use the callback example in this, and we will try to do the same thing using the promises also. So we will wait for a timeout and we will wait for a file. So this is going to be quite cool with promises. So when you use a callback, you like directly call the set timeout function and you are giving over here the callback function and 3000 milliseconds. So after 3 seconds, this this function callback function would be called, in that we are calling my function I love you, and in my function we are passing I love you, so in my function it is printing I love you. Okay, so after 3 seconds I love you would be printed. 1 2 3, yeah, I love you has been printed after 3 seconds. Okay, so this is how we do it, like using a callback. This is how we do it using a callback. So do check out my async part 1. I have explained all about callbacks and asynchronous in that video. If you haven't seen that video, then check it out. Example using a promise. So now let's see how to do the same thing using a promise, and then let's compare. Like here you are creating a promise object, and this is the callback function. Okay, in that there's my resolve, my reject. Okay, but we are just creating a function for my resolve, as we saw above, that both are optional, so you can add a callback for success or failure only. So in this example now, we are adding a callback. So this is the callback, and we are adding this callback for only success. Okay, so if there's an error, nothing would happen, but for success we are adding a callback. Okay, so like in this we are doing set timeout. So this is the callback function of set timeout, and after 3 seconds this callback function would be called. In that we are calling my resolve, I love you. So my resolve is getting the value I love you, and it is printing whatever the value it gets. So as it is getting the value I love you, my resolve will print I love you when the code reaches to my promise.then. Okay, so try it yourself. 3 seconds. After 3 seconds it is gonna print it. Yeah. Okay, so now like let's open the callback thing also. Like this is how we do it with the callback. So like just give the set timeout line, and then define the function that you want to give as a callback. Okay, uh, so like this content. Okay, it's like here in this here we have created a function, and in that we are calling my function, and we are passing it I love you. In my function we are printing whatever the value is passed, so I love you would be printed after 3 seconds. Okay, and in this what we are doing, we are creating a promise, and in that we are calling, instead of like my function thingy over here we are calling my resolve, and in my resolve we are printing the value. Okay, so it is doing the same thing, because like we are doing the same thing. So now we are on waiting for a file. How to wait for a file? So this is the example using a callback. So like here you are creating a function get file, and you want a callback function in this. You create a new XML HTTP request, and in that you do request.open. So you're opening my car.html file using the get method, and when it will be loaded you will call this function. In this function we are checking the request status. If it is 200, so for it means that if it is successful, then we will call the my callback function, and in that we will do request.response text to what. So whatever the response text we receive, we will give pass that to the my callback function. Okay, and else we are passing error plus request status. So the request status we will pass the error plus request status. Okay, and then we are calling get file my displayer. So like here we are passing my displayer method as a callback, and in my displayer we are printing all the contents it received, and it received all the response text, and this was the response text. So my displayer printed all this response text. Okay, so this was an example using the callback method. Now let's see how to do the same thing using the promises. Like here you create a new promise, so you start creating a new promise. Okay, so this is the callback, this whole is the callback. Okay, in that we are my resolve, my reject as usual. Here we are creating a new XML HTTP request. We are opening mycar.html using the get method, and when it would be loaded it will check its request status. If it is 200, that means if it is success, we will call the my resolve method, and we will give it the request.response. Okay, so whatever the response has come we are passing it that. Else my reject, we are calling else my reject, we are calling my reject, and we will give that file not found. Okay, so when the promise would be completed we are checking. So like if it is successful, then this method would be run. So like right now it would be successful, that's why this method has been run and all the contents have been printed. Okay, and this method has not been run. Okay, so like if I did like my car 1, my car1 does not exist. Okay, so like if then I run, it is giving us an error. Okay, so why did, yeah, it is showing us file not found. Okay, because it did not find the file, that's why it is showing us file not found, because we are passing my reject file not found and it is calling the my reject method. So like it is displaying file not found. Okay, now the comparison. Here we are directly starting off like creating a get file function and then doing all the stuff. Okay, and like we are wanting a callback function in this, and then whatever the callback would be, we will call that. Okay, and in this we are starting with creating a promise, and then when it is successful we call my resolve, then we call my reject, and then when the promise is completed it goes in my promise dot then. If it is successful, then the success function would be executed. If it is error, then the error code would be executed. So like basically promises help a lot when you are doing advanced coding. And right now, I think that right now, so like intermediate coding, I think callbacks and asynchronous are like much more easy to understand, and they are much more easy to use because they have a familiar type of syntax. Like promises have very different types of syntax if you have not done something like that before. Okay, so it has a very different type of syntax, and at first you will find it hard, but like when you will get used to it, you will use it in your apps, like in your like anything. Whenever you use it, you will have it set in your mind more, and I know that this will help you a lot. Okay, so like you need to try to use promises as much as you can wherever you can. Okay, so ECM script to browser support. We are not now on browser support. ECM script 2015, also known as ES6, introduced the JavaScript promise object. So ES6 introduced JavaScript promise object. The following table defines the first browser version with full support for promise objects. So like first of all, if you haven't seen my ES6 video, and if you have not seen any of my version video, do check it out, because like you are getting to know what features are like defined, like were introduced in that version, specific version, and how to use that feature if you don't know how to use it. Okay, so do check out my ES6 and any video. Okay, mainly ES5 and ES6, because they have a lot of stuff, lot of good use action, a lot of good action in them. Okay, like let's go on with this. Chrome 33 supported it in Feb 2014 only. Okay, most browsers supported it in 2014 only instead of Edge. So like Edge 12 was the latest to support it. So Edge 12 supported it in July 2015. Firefox 29 supported it in April 2014. Safari 7.1 supported it in September 2014, and Opera 20 supported it in March 2014. So we have just done the promises chapter, and now we are on async. So let's take a short break of 15 seconds. I like to go around here and there on my chair. Oh, this was quite rhyming. I love to go around here and there on my chair. Ooh, this was cool. I didn't know this. I just made it out. This was quite cool. It was quite funny. I love to go around here and there on my chair. Quite rhyming and quite cool. Okay, so I think we should continue now. Uh, I'm feeling quite dizzy. JavaScript async await. So now you're on the async await chapter. Okay. So this is gonna be, so like async await basically makes your syntax your promise is easier to write. Okay, so like async and await make promises easier to write. Async makes a function return a promise, so async makes a function return a promise, and await makes a function wait for a promise. Okay, so like basically if you like see, async is basically the promise and await is the then part. Okay, the then part, I don't know what to call, like the consuming code. So async is basically the producing code and await is basically like, it is just to understand this, it is not in reality, I'm just saying this for to make you understand. So let's leave that, you will get to know a lot more about it right now. Async syntax. So now what is the async syntax? The keyword async, so the keyword async before a function makes the function return the promise. So the keyword async before a function makes, so like the keyword async before a function makes the function, so like async is put before the function keyword return a promise. So whenever you add the async keyword, whatever you return from the function, it would be a promise. My battery is running low, I think so. 18%. It is enough. Uh, so like async, so this is the syntax. Async function my function. So you're creating a my function and we are returning hello. Like hello has been returned as a promise. Okay, is the same as, so it is the same as async function my function return my promise dot resolve hello. So as this would be a successful value, we are doing my promise dot resolve hello. Okay, so it will return my promise dot resolve hello. So it is the same as returning hello. Here is how to use the promise. So you can use this promise by two ways. One by await and one by the then thingy. Right now let's see how to use it with the then thingy. I call it the then thingy. It is quite cool. ah. So here is how to use the promise. Like my function, so like before in normal promises we did like we gave the promise name, but now we are giving the function name dot then. So like here we are creating the function value, so code if successful. So this is the successful function and this is the error function. Okay, so example, so here you are creating an async function in that you are returning hello as a promise, and then in that you are doing my function dot then. Over here you are doing my function dot then. Okay, so you have to give parentheses also, and like if you want to do use it, you have to use it like this my function. So you have to give the name of the function. So like basically you have to call the function dot then function value my display value. So this will call this method because there is no error in this code, and so it will come like this would be called. Okay, and then we are creating a my function error my display error. But right now hello would be printed exactly because like there's no error in this. Like before, like if I cause a error intentionally, so for example I remove the codes, then it would shows the error. So it is calling the error method. Okay, and it is showing us the error. Hello is not defined, so hello is nothing over here. That's why it is giving us a reference error. But in quotes it is just a string literal, so it would be all right. Okay, or simpler, since you expect a normal value, so you expect a normal value, a normal response, not an error, you could just remove that like like the error method. Okay, so in this is the same code but there is no error method. But like if you remove these codes, so like here it is causing an error, It will not show the error because we don't have the error method to show it. Okay, so it is not showing the error because we don't have the error method to show it. So it is always advisable to keep the error method also, if you are 1000% sure also that you will get a correct value, not a wrong value. Because anytime also you you never know when a wrong value has been passed. Okay, so like we have done the async syntax. Now let's see how what is the await syntax and how to use async await together. The keyword await. So the keyword await before a function makes the function wait for a promise. So the keyword await basically makes the function wait for a promise. Like here is how you can, here is its syntax, like let value equals to await promise. So basically in await promise, so in the await promise you get whatever the value has been passed to my resolve. Okay, whatever the value has been passed to the resolve method or the reject method, and then if you get in await my promise you get the value, and then you can do anything with await my promise. Okay, so basically whatever you do with await my promise, like you try to print await my promise, so like the value has come over. I'll tell you in the example only. The await keyword can only be used inside an async function. So this await keyword can be only used in the async function. So let's go slowly and learn how to use it. So like here in this, like here we are creating a async function. In that we are creating a new promise. Okay, so this is the callback function. In this we are calling my resolve I love you. Okay, and we are doing document.get element by id demo.html. So we are printing await my promise. In await my promise we will get the value whatever has been passed to my resolve or my reject. Okay, and we can do anything with the value. You can alert it, you can like print it, you can do anything. Over here we are printing it, and when my display would be called I love you would be printed because the value is I love you, and we are printing I love you. So I love you would be directly printed. Okay, now let's see how to wait for a timeout. This was just basic syntax, but now let's see how to wait for timeout. Okay, so here directly you called my resolve, but here you call it in the set timeout. So like instead of directly calling my resolve over here, we call a set timeout method, and after 3000 after 3000 milliseconds, that is 3 seconds, this callback function would be called. So this callback function would be called. In this we are calling my resolve and we are passing it I love you. Okay, and in await my promise, the value whatever has been passed to my resolve or my reject has come. So like I love you has come in this, and then it is printing it. Okay, so it is printing the value. So like first this is the producing code. So first it will do the producing code and then the consuming code. So first it will complete the producing code. So after 3000 seconds my resolve would be called and we will pass I love you to it. So after 3000 milliseconds, this I love you would be printed. Okay, because I explained you why. Okay, okay, so after 3 seconds it was printed. 1 2 3, I love you. Okay, I really love you guys. And now finally waiting for a file. How to wait for a file. Okay, so async function get file. So you are creating a async function get file. In that you are creating a new promise, and this is the callback function. Okay, so in that you are creating a let request, and you are creating a new XML HTTP request object. You are doing request. You are opening mycar.html using the get method, and when the file would be loaded, if the request status of it is 200, that means if it is successful, my resolve would be called and we will pass request.response to it. Okay, else my resolve would be called and we will give file not found in it. Okay, and then here the value of the myResolve method has come, and then we are printing it. So basically this is the consuming code and this is the producing code. This is the producing code. Okay, so in the consuming code we are printing whatever value we get in myResolve. Okay, let's try it. Okay, so like here it was all correct. So if I do mycar1, mycar1 is not a file, so it would just give us file not found. Okay, because it did not find the file, and we are printing whatever uh, we have passed to myResolve. Whatever we pass to myResolve or myreject, await myPromise gets that value. Okay, and then as we have got that, like as in await myPromise we get that value. We don't need the myPromise dot then thingy, the then thingy thing, and we can just do anything with this value. Okay, after we got it, and now let's do anything with that value. Okay, now we are on browser support. ECMA Script 2017 introduced the JavaScript keywords async and await. So you see how easy it is to use async and await. And I wanted to show you one more thing. I kept it for the end. Okay, so like over here, if you want to do the same thing with a normal promise, how will you do that? So first let's comment this. Okay, okay. I'm doing let, creating a new my promise equals to new promise. Okay, like we do like this, then we give the callback function. Okay, so let me see. I just like, okay, in that we have to pass myResolve. Sorry for that. And myreject. Like it just slipped from my mind that I had to show you this example. Okay, then we just give it like this, have a smacking this. Okay, and now the contents of this. In this we are returning hello. So what we will do, myResolve hello. Okay, and then we are doing over here my promise dot then. Okay, and in that we are doing function value, and we are doing my displayer value. Okay, and okay, so I suppose, yeah, it is working perfectly fine. So like over here you see how short the syntax is now. Using this async we are just directly doing this, and now we are just doing my function dot then. Okay, but using the await, the then is also like omitted, and you use await, and like you just use await. And so like if you wanted to use await over here, use await over here, how can you use it? You cannot use await over here. You have to do it properly like this. So like you have to create a new promise in the function, and then you can use await. Okay. Oh, yeah. So I said right that you have to create a whole promise first, and then you can use await. Okay. So like you see how short the syntax is. So like we did this whole thing in the 4 lines. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, and we did this in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh sorry, my Mac will shut down. 1 second. Oh, I have to switch it on from here. Just a second, guys. Yeah, now it is charging, and now my Mac will not shut down. Okay, so you see, we are doing seven line code. We are doing the same thing in 5 lines. The thing that we were doing in 7 lines, we are doing the same thing in 5 lines. So, like a 10x coder uses like as less as lines. Like his a 10x coder code is a 10x coder's code is very short. Okay, so if you want to become a 10 coder, you have to work like make your mind like a 10 coder, and like you have to um, you have to use the shortest way to build your apps. Okay, this is a very good quality of a 10 coder, and if you want to become a 10 coder, you have to get this quality in yourself. I don't have this quality so much because like I use a lot of long ways to do things, but yeah, I will develop it soon. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how to like instead of using async, how can you do the same thing using normal promises. And now we were on browser support. So ECMS script 2017 introduced the JavaScript keywords async and await. The following table defines the first browser versions will full support for both. Okay, Chrome 55 supported them in December 2016, Edge 15 in April 2017, Firefox 52 in March 2017, Safari 11 in September 2017, and Opera 42 in December 2016. So Chrome 55 and Opera 42 were the earliest browsers to support async and await. And the chapter is done, and we have completed this video. So thank you guys. If you like the video, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. And if you are not subscribed to my channel yet, do it and press that notification bell too so that you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you guys. Bye. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep watching my videos. Dad!